There is a popular legend in Japan about accidents. It states that the most innocent victims tend to attract the greatest number of catastrophes. According to the myth, this is due to the evil spirits that prowl the world trying to push kind souls into the abyss of chaos. Of course, far from myths and legends, no one knows how to explain why this saying is so powerful and real. But in this country, it has always been present and alive. In fact, last week there was an unexpected and mysterious accident that has shaken social media. There are dozens of theories, but no one has managed to explain the strange case of the ship that collided with a sea monster. Did you hear what it's all about? If you didn't, then it's time for you to join us on a journey to the heart of Asia to discover this spooky mystery. Many consider Japan to be the longest archipelago in the world. They are wrong, of course, but regardless of that, the country of the rising sun is still an incredible opportunity to enjoy the Pacific Ocean from all its borders. Naturally, the coasts are very important in Japan, not only for the local fishing industry but also for the tourism sector. Japan's tourism industry goes beyond the big cities, and many activities on the coast are very popular, like cruises and quiet walks. However, it is precisely on the shores where some of the most disturbing events in the country have been recorded. From sightings of strange creatures to catastrophic accidents that not even the most experienced specialists have been able to decipher, truly disturbing events have occurred in this place. But none compares to the one that occurred on March 9. It all happened at noon. The Pacific Ocean seemed calm and did not show any strange signs. Tourists were strolling along the shores, and the ferries were making good money transporting them from one place to another, although not everyone was doing so well. The Sado Island ferry had not been so lucky, and after several hours it had only managed to fill the minimum amount of seats needed to start the trip. There were 80 people of different nationalities on the ferry. They were all ready to take pictures and have fun on a ride that had been cataloged as calm and pleasant. Although that day, things would be less relaxing. The ferry moved forward with its routine protocols. The small boat crossed the ocean without any incidents. Passengers were able to feel the breeze from all sides. Seagulls hovered in the sky, and the waters looked so crystal clear that, at times, one could observe the marine fauna lurking in the depths. The sun was also at its highest point, but the tourists did not notice it as they were too busy enjoying the beautiful views of that place. Suddenly, something strange broke the paradisiacal atmosphere. The agitated voice coming from the ferry's navigators attracted a lot of attention. Few understood what they were saying except for a Japanese couple who was celebrating their anniversary. They clearly understood that something was wrong, although they had no time to do anything at all. Within seconds of hearing the men's hustle and bustle, a powerful blow shook the boat, threw 13 passengers against the bow, and 15 fell into the sea. The tourists began to scream in desperation, not knowing how such a situation could have happened in the middle of the sea, with no other boats near them, no islands, rocks, or land. However, before people could be calmed down, a 15-centimeter long crack opened in the center and sides of the ferry. The vessel looked as if it was going to break apart at any moment, but it endured. Immediately, all the passengers tried to help those who had fallen into the sea. 40 minutes later, coastal authorities arrived on the scene to provide medical assistance and support to the vessel. 13 passengers were seriously injured and a dozen more received minor injuries. The ferry was severely damaged, including structural damage, seats detached from their bases, and 3 underwater wings completely damaged. After the Coast Guard brought the passengers to shore, authorities questioned the crew and those responsible for the ferry. It was at this point that the story began to get terribly creepy. The men claimed that the trip had been uneventful until they spotted a strange shadow on the sea. At first, they thought it was a submarine, since its size was enormous, but they soon discovered that it was something different, very similar to a fish with large greenish scales and an unnatural size. Meanwhile, the passengers seemed to have a very similar idea to that of the pilots, but at the same time, it was very different. Some of the tourists did see the dark shadow escaping from the site after the accident, but many were convinced it was a monstrous whale. Unfortunately, many of the photographs were lost in the water, while others were unrecognizable or totally blurred because of the chaos of the accident prevented them from having better quality. The authorities were baffled. No submarine could have been on the scene, so the whale hypothesis seemed to be much more coherent. But these cetaceans never stayed hidden and were very easy to detect. It is almost impossible to collide with a whale without noticing. However, the crew did not show any signs of having a disorder, nor were they under the influence of any drugs or alcohol. Therefore, they had all the necessary capabilities to identify the whale. So, what was this creature? Does it still lurk off the Japanese coast? And does it actually exist? People have been asking these questions on social media platforms for months now, and still no one has been able to answer them. Skeptics continue to insist that it was a whale and that the drivers were responsible for not seeing it and causing the accident. However, most people do not seem to agree with this reasoning, much less when there is an extensive record of strange occurrences in the Pacific Ocean. Every year there are dozens of reports from sailors and even cruisers who claim to have come across some sea creature that has never been seen before. Reports from dozens of fishermen also confirm these strange phenomena, and they all seem to agree on the same stories. At first glance, they believe it is a submarine, then a huge fish, and finally a whale, a giant squid, or some other creature that, so far, no human has managed to capture. Regardless of the circumstance or location, these reports are always ignored in the Japanese law enforcement files. Still, the situation remains a true mystery that may never have any other answer beside blaming the poor whales. If you are not convinced that these mysterious sightings are simply cetaceans, perhaps you would like to know the top 5 most mysterious fish seen in the deep, or the stories of divers killed by mysterious beings in the deep sea. Are you ready to meet them? Then check out these videos.